When it comes to video games, bigger doesn't necessarily have to mean better, but all too often it does. PlayStation exclusives have always succeeded on multiple fronts, from gameplay to storytelling, but as they've gotten bigger, they've become that much more impressive. In this feature, we're going to take a look at some of the biggest game worlds we've ever seen in PlayStation exclusive titles. Before we go ahead, a quick request. We upload new videos every single day and your subscription matters a lot. So please consider subscribing and enable all notifications by clicking that bell icon. With that out of the way, let's begin. Marvel's Spider-Man and Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales. Insomniac Games' first crack at an open world in Sunset Overdrive proved that the developer had a knack for this type of game, and then with Marvel's Spider-Man, and by extension Miles Morales, which uses the same map, they took things to completely new heights. Spider-Man's Manhattan is the biggest Insomniac map today by far, and though there isn't much that inherently special about the world itself from a design standpoint, the game's excellent traversal mechanics pretty much single-handedly elevate it. You get to swing around in a vast open world of Spider-Man, and it feels amazing. What more could you want? Horizon Zero Dawn. Guerrilla Games had virtually no experience with anything other than linear first-person shooters until a few years ago, so there were more than a few people who were surprised at how good Horizon Zero Dawn turned out to be. More specifically, its open world took millions by surprise. Large, varied, and littered with activities to hunt down and engage with, Horizon Zero Dawn's open world is a shockingly good first attempt at the design style by the studio. Does it stick too closely to the AAA open world rulebook? Well, yeah, but it still consistently delivers quality content, and that's not something to be scoffed at. Hopefully, Guerrilla Games will take the lessons they've learned with Zero Dawn and build on its strengths to deliver an even better open world with the upcoming Horizon Forbidden West. Days Gone. Days Gone is almost too big. SIE Bend Studio, like many other Sony-owned developers, didn't have much or any experience with anything besides linear games until not that long ago. But just as it was with Horizon and Guerrilla, Days Gone turned out to be a surprisingly great attempt. Maybe not as universally well received, sure, but then again, there are many people out there who would tell you that thanks to its mechanical depth and emergent systems, Days Gone's open world is significantly more engaging, dynamic, and well-designed than most other Sony open world. Ghost of Tsushima.
We'll get some rest soon.
Not only does Ghost of Tsushima have the best ever open world in a PlayStation exclusive, it might just be one of the best open worlds in a game, period. Right up there with the likes of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Red Dead Redemption 2. Tsushima Island is large, yes, but crucially, it's also densely packed and brimming with moments that stand out in memory, from addictive side activities to, of course, an absolute bevy of breathtaking sights and vistas of astounding beauty. It just succeeds on every level, or very nearly every level, to deliver one of the best open worlds ever in a game to date. Infamous Second Son. Ghost of Tsushima might be Sucker Punch's biggest, most impressive open world to date, but it wasn't their first. The studio crafted some pretty impressive sandbox maps across several Infamous games, and of those, Infamous Second Son's fictionalized recreation of Seattle stands the tallest. Traversing the large open world using Delsin's awesome power is always a blast, of course, and the fact that the game looks absolutely gorgeous, even now several years on from its launch, just makes its world that much more enjoyable to simply exist in. Death Stranding. After mastering linear design over the course of multiple games, Hideo Kojima tried the open world approach with Metal Gear Solid 5, and then decided that he would just never go back. What followed was, of course, Death Stranding, a game so stupidly big and ridiculously ambitious in its scope that you can't help but be impressed with what it attempts. Doing justice to its premise of traveling across an entire massive continent, Death Stranding puts players in a massive open world, and sure, there are many critics of the game out there who feel that the sheer emptiness of that open world is one of the game's biggest weaknesses, but Death Stranding's mechanical depth and uniqueness staves off many of those flaws. Shadow of the Colossus. Shadow of the Colossus's open world is perhaps one of the most unique open worlds you'll ever find, to the extent that it eschews pretty much every single convention that defines open world games as a whole. It's vast and varied and beautiful, yes, but it's also completely empty, serving more as a hub for you to traverse through and get to the next set-piece boss battle. That emptiness, however, is a crucial element of the experience and helps sell the isolation and atmosphere that the game relies on so heavily. It also helps, of course, that it's an absolutely gorgeous game, both the original and the remake, which means that even when you're just peacefully riding your horse through vast stretches of emptiness, you always have something beautiful to behold. Gravity Rush 2. Gravity Rush 2 might not be Sony's biggest, most sweeping, most high-profile exclusive ever, but as anyone who's played it would tell you, it's incredibly good at most of the things it sets out to do. That holds true for its world design as well. Gravity Rush 2's world is several times larger than its predecessor and significantly smarter in its design as well. But of course, what makes this world a joy to explore and simply exist in is the game's excellent traversal mechanics. No matter how much time you put in the game, manipulating gravity and soaring through the air to land on faraway structures completely seamlessly just never gets old. God of War. Okay, God of War might not necessarily be an open world game, but no one can deny that the game's world is big by any metric. Sure, a lot of that real estate is covered in water, but even if you take those parts away, the interconnected nature of its many locations and density of each of its environments gives the game the impression of being larger than many had anticipated it would be. The hub and spoke design style has become ubiquitous in games over the years, but there are very few games out there that implement these as well as God of War does. Bloodborne. Again, not an open world game, but also not lacking in size by any stretch of the imagination. Bloodborne is not just huge, it's also dense. Its worth of twisted and gothic horrors is brimming with large, mazy areas with intertwining Metroidvania-style design and layered pathways and shortcuts. Exploring these locations is an absolute joy, given the fact that even the simplest act of exploring and unlocking shortcuts feels like you're slowly unraveling a massive environmental puzzle piece by piece. It strikes the perfect balance between size and density, and every developer in the industry should take notes on how it achieves that. Demon's Souls. If there's one PlayStation exclusive that can hold a candle to the design strengths and philosophies of something like Bloodborne, it's gotta be Demon's Souls, which makes sense seeing as they were both made by the same developer. Demon's Souls' world is a masterclass in design, from its incredible gothic art style to the sheer complexity and layered nature of its many locations and environments, each of which are characterized by the same structure that From games are so well known for. It set the blueprint that the genre has been sticking to for years, which really tells you something about its timeless nature. And that brings us to the end of this video. A quick request before we conclude: we upload new videos every single day, and if you like what we're doing, please consider subscribing. It really helps us out. Also, don't forget to enable all your notifications by clicking the bell icon so that you can receive daily video updates. Thanks for watching.